Well, hello, Georgia. To Pastor Benny Tate, Congressman Scott, Congressman Ferguson, to all the wonderful men and women of Rock Springs Church, thank you for that warm welcome. It really blessed my heart, more than I can tell you. But I'm here for one reason and one reason only. And that is that Georgia and America need David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back in the Republican majority in the United States Senate. In one more day, we need Georgia to defend the majority. In one more day, we need people of faith in this great state to stand with two leaders who will support life and liberty and the freedom of every American. In one more day, we need to win Georgia and save America. Well, thank you all for coming out today. It really is great to be back in the Peach State. And it's a particular blessing to be in a church that believes in prayer, teaches the Bible. And a church, as I heard from those two great congressmen on the way here, a church that lives out your faith with love and compassion in the community every single day. Give yourselves a round of applause. What a special church is Rock Springs. And Benny, I'm pretty sure Rock Spring Church could teach Congress a thing or two about how you end a prayer. Can I get an amen? Both of them, I can tell you, have been men of integrity, been committed to advancing the agenda that represents the conservative values of the people of Georgia. Join me in thanking Congressman Austin Scott and Congressman Drew Ferguson. Thank you so much for your great leadership. It's also an honor to be here with a man I've known for many years. In fact, I've known him back when I had hair the same color he's still got. He's founder of one of the most important conservative organizations in America. He's the founder of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, and he's fighting to deliver Georgia for our values. Join me in thanking Ralph Reed for being with us today and for your leadership, my friend. Thank you. But to all my fellow Americans who are here, state officials, neighbors, and friends, it is great to be with all of you. And speaking of friends of mine, allow me to bring greetings from another friend of mine. I spoke to him as I got on Air Force Two this morning, and I understand he's headed to Georgia a little bit later today, but allow me to bring greetings and gratitude from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. You know, I'm here because I stand with President Donald Trump. And I'm here because we stand with Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler. It's really why I jumped on the plane today, and it's why the president's going to be in Dalton tonight. And that's why I'm so grateful to see all of you come out today. We're going to take the fight all across this state We're going to fight for all we've done. We're going to fight for all we have yet to do. We're going to fight to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to Washington, D.C. Are you with me? You know, there's a lot of reasons for Georgia to step up right now. And we need to send David and Kelly back to Washington, D.C. because of who they are. It would be enough. We need to send them back because of all that we've accomplished together over the last 4 years. And we need to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to Washington, D.C. because a Republican Senate majority could be the last line of defense to preserve all that we've done to defend this nation, revive our economy, and preserve the God-given liberties that we hold dear. It's true. But you know, it'd be enough to send these two people back to Washington because of who they are, like a fourth generation farm girl from the heartland. She moved down here to Georgia just as soon as she heard about it. She built a company up. She broke barriers in business and sports to become one of the most successful business women in the history of this state. And I can also tell you, in a very short period of time, she's emerged as one of the most important and unapologetic conservative voices on Capitol Hill. We need Senator Kelly Loeffler back in the United States Senate. She's earned it. Or like a son of Macon, who worked his way up to literally the top of the business world. And then he and his family felt a calling to public service. After spending 40 years as one of the most successful business leaders in America, they prayed through it. They decided to step in to the fulcrum of politics and to serve Georgia. And I can attest, having served alongside him every day, that President Trump and I have had no more stalwart champion of our agenda to make America great again than Senator David Perdue. We got to send him back. It's true. So President Trump and I support your senators because of who they are, but we also support them because of everything that we've been able to do with their stalwart support. I mean, think about it. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that had been hollowed out by reckless budget cuts, an economy struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But under the leadership of President Donald Trump, and with the stalwart support of Georgia's 2 Republican senators, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We secured our border, stood with law enforcement, and fought for life and liberty and the Constitution of the United States. It's true. It's amazing to think of what we've done. It all begins with our national defense. You know, I'm your vice president, but the most important title I'll ever hold is spelled D-A-D. And you know, you may not know it, but I'm the proud father of a United States Marine pilot. And one of my unworthy son-in-laws is a Navy pilot currently deployed. So I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who signed the largest increases in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan. We've rebuilt our military. We're finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Space Force the support they need to defend our nation now and in the future. It's true. And I'm here to tell you, Senator David Perdue, from his seat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, has been there every step of the way. You all remember the last administration, we saw years of scandal at the VA that shocked the conscience of the nation. Remember? We had America's heroes, many cases that were passing away on waiting lists to get into VA facilities. When President Trump came into office, those days were over. We passed the most sweeping reform of the VA in 50 years, and now Veterans Choice is now available for every veteran in America. And from her position on the Veterans Affairs Committee, Senator Kelly Loeffler has been fighting for our veterans every day. True. And when it comes to the economy, after the slowest recovery in 75 years, with this president and your senators, we cut taxes. We rolled back regulation at a historic pace. We fought for free and fair trade. We unleashed American energy. And in those first 3 years, businesses large and small created 7 million good-paying jobs, including 350,000 jobs right here in the Peach State. Wages were rising across the board in those first 3 years. And maybe what meant the most to the president and me is that wages were rising most rapidly for hardworking, blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. It's true. So we were making extraordinary progress in those first 3 years, the strongest economy in the history of our nation. And then 2020 arrived, and the coronavirus struck from China. With the support of your two senators under the leadership of President Donald Trump, we launched the greatest national mobilization since World War II. We reinvented testing. We saw to the delivery of billions of medical supplies. We saw to the creation of medicines in record time, secured financial support for businesses and families. And it's amazing to think, in less than a year, we already have not one, but 2 safe and effective vaccines that are being administered all across the country to millions of Americans. And Georgia's senators were there every step of the way. They helped us pour that strong foundation in our economy. That after we lost 22 million jobs at the height of this coronavirus pandemic, we've already seen 12 million Americans go back to work. We are opening up Georgia again and opening up America again. It's been a year of hardship and heartbreak for millions of Americans, the year 2020. But today we're delivering our medicines. We're making sure that every American family has access to the health care that every one of us would want a member of our family to have. And all of us have a role to play going forward in the days between now and when we put this coronavirus in the past. We all know what to do to slow the spread, to flatten the curve. And we all know how important it is to remember in our prayers all the families that have suffered loss and those that are still struggling in this pandemic. And I know here at Rock Spring that that's just what you'll do. The truth is, though, thanks to your president, to the support of your two senators, thanks to incredible American ingenuity, under Operation Warp Speed, we have arrived at the beginning of the end of the coronavirus pandemic, and the day will come soon that we put this pandemic in the past. And I mean to tell you, every step of the way, from my position leading the White House Coronavirus Task Force, I've seen Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler be there. Be there for the people of Georgia. Be there for the people of America. With their support, we've been defending America, been reviving America's economy. We've been healing America. And all along the way, most important of all, with the support of your two senators, we've been defending freedom. So when it comes to the rule of law, I couldn't be more proud to report each and every one of you, with the support of Georgia's two senators, we've already confirmed 220 federal judges at every level, and they are all principled men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution. Like the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And remember, the President nominates to our federal courts, but it's the Senate that confirms the men and women that serve on our federal judiciary. So all the progress that we have made would not have been possible without the strong and steadfast and unwavering support of Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler. They stood strong when we appointed all of those federal judges all across the country, and they were there when we confirmed Justice Neil Gorsuch, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett. How great is she? I mean, it really is incredible. All along the way of the last 4 years, with the support of your senators, our administration has stood strong for the values we cherish most, and stood strong for religious liberty. Early on, as Pastor Benny knows, we repealed the Johnson Amendment because the First Amendment freedom of speech should not end at the front door of our churches or synagogues or places of worship. We stood for the religious liberty of every American, and we made religious freedom a priority in the foreign policy goals of our administration on the world stage. Now, you all may remember the last administration was different. The last administration trampled on the religious liberty of Americans on a regular basis. It's true. They compromised the conscience rights of doctors and nurses and religious charities. The last administration even hauled a group of Catholic nuns into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the federal mandates of Obamacare. It's incredible. In fact, we saw that religious intolerance in high relief just a few short years ago when Amy Coney Barrett went before the Judiciary Committee for her first nomination to the federal courts. Do you remember? The leading Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee actually said that she was concerned about how sincere Amy Coney Barrett's Christian faith was. She said, and I quote, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And Hollywood liberals have been attacking Amy Coney Barrett for her faith and her values ever since. Well, I got a message for the Democrats in Washington and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. So for our liberties, and for a Senate majority that will respect our most cherished freedoms, Georgia, we need Senator David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back in a Republican majority in the United States Senate. We do. I mean, the stakes in this election have never been higher, and the choice has never been clearer. Where David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler stand for a strong national defense, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are going to cut our national defense to fund their big government programs. You just watch. Where David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler cut taxes, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock are going to raise taxes on working families and businesses all across Georgia. You may have seen Raphael Warnock is actually caught on tape calling members of the United States Senate gangsters and thugs because they voted to cut taxes on hardworking Americans across the Peach State. And Raphael Warnock has called our most cherished ally an apartheid state. But with the strong support of Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, President Donald Trump did what no American president had ever done before when he moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, the capital of the state of Israel. I'll tell you, under President Donald Trump, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, if the world knows nothing else, the world will know this: America stands with Israel. And where John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, like the party they represent, support abortion on demand and taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside the most pro-life president in American history. And I couldn't be more grateful that David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler stand for the right to life. So y'all know what the stakes are here in Georgia. But if you haven't got it in focus yet, just listen to what Chuck Schumer said. He said, quote, "Now we take Georgia, then we change America." Well, I got another message for Chuck Schumer and the Washington Democrats. We're going to keep Georgia. And we're going to save America. You know, I mentioned President Trump will be in Georgia a little bit later today. And I heard Joe Biden is going to hold a little rally of his own. A couple weeks ago, Joe Biden was in Georgia. You may have heard about it. He actually said that Georgia, these are his words, he said that Georgia doesn't need two senators who, quote, "are just going to get in the way." Well, Georgia, that's exactly what we need in the United States Senate. We need Senator David Perdue and Senator Kelly Loeffler to get in the way of the radical left's agenda in Washington, D.C. We need David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler to get in the way of higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine, and a Green New Deal. Georgia needs two senators that will get in the way of the radical agenda of the Democratic Party and fight for Georgia's values every day. That's why we need Georgia to say no to Ossoff and Warnock, and yes to David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler tomorrow, January 5. Gotta happen. To keep America great. To preserve all the progress we've made, to protect our values and our most cherished liberties. I need you to do a few things in the next 24 hours and more. First and foremost, we need you to vote, Georgia. Vote to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to Washington, D.C. And I can tell you, our great Republican chairman in the state and our senators will tell you, we literally have thousands of people, don't we, Ralph, all across this state that are watching this time. We're on them. We're going to secure the polls. We're going to secure the drop boxes. You get out and vote tomorrow, and you vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, and be confident. And if you haven't already cast your vote, remember, if you're heading out tomorrow, friends, don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member, bring a neighbor, and vote to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to Washington, D.C. You know, I know we all got our doubts about the last election. And I want to assure you, I share the concerns of millions of Americans about voting irregularities. And I promise you, come this Wednesday, we'll have our day in Congress. We'll hear the objections. We'll hear the evidence. But tomorrow is Georgia's day. So for our faith, for our freedom, we need you to vote, Georgia. Vote to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to the United States Senate. You know, I actually hear some people saying, just don't vote. But men and women of Georgia, if you don't vote, they win. If you don't vote, there could be nothing stopping Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi from cutting our military, raising taxes, and passing the agenda of the radical left. So for all we've done, for all we have yet to do, for our president, for our faith, for our freedoms, for Georgia and America, cast another vote for all that President Trump has accomplished. Cast a vote to send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to the United States Senate. We've got to have Georgia hold the line. Will you do it? I believe you will. I believe you will because I have faith. It's like all of you. I have faith in the people of this state. People of this state represent all that's great about this country. About family and faith and freedom. And I just know that you're going to get out. You're going to cast that vote. You're going to talk to your neighbors and friends in every hour that remains between now and when the polls close tomorrow. And tell them what's at stake in this election. The eyes of America are on Georgia. And people who share our values and our deals across this country, we're looking to you. We're looking to you, Georgia. We're looking to you to hold the line, and I believe with all my heart that you will. And lastly, I have that other kind of faith, too. The challenging times in which we live, I believe more than ever that we stand in the need of prayer. And I know that millions of Americans are joining with you in a chorus of prayer in the hours that remain between now and the close of the polls. And I just want to encourage you to practice prayer in a renewed way as we work to defend the majority. I just encourage you to pray for the future of this state and this nation. And when you pray, pray with confidence in those ancient words that Americans have clung to in much more challenging times than we could possibly imagine. That if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and turn, that he'll do like he's always done in the long and storied history of this country. He'll hear from heaven and he'll heal this land. So pray, Georgia. Pray for America, for all the American people. I know it'll make a difference. And I want to thank you for letting me join you here at Rock Springs Church, and I thank you all for coming out. I really do. And also, it's the greatest honor of my life to be your vice president. On behalf of my family, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the privilege. I leave here today very grateful for the enthusiasm that I see and the support. And I know the President will see that today. But I can tell all of you that I was reminded recently that even when it doesn't seem that way, that God is always working. I have to tell you, Benny may appreciate this story. I shared it a little while back. I received a letter from a pastor who leads a church not far from Jacksonville, Florida, this spring. He told me of a time that he and his new bride were attending Asbury Seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky, back in 1977. As I read the letter, he talked about his experience there. Asbury Seminary would host a Christian music festival every year. They'd present the gospel in song and then in preaching and invite young people from all across the Midwest to come. They'd have bands that would take the stage in what was the early days of contemporary Christian music. And he wrote to me that they had decided at the seminary in 1977 to cancel the event. But he and his new bride said that they felt a calling to volunteer to lead it. And he wrote to me saying that, quote, several friends told us that it would be very hard on our new marriage and that we shouldn't do it, a year-long project of setting up this festival. But then he said, we answered the call. We gathered a few other seminarians to help us, and they worked a whole year to arrange the event in the spring of 1978. And then, as he wrote, he told me that the night came, the culminating evening of the event. It was a Saturday night, where he and his new bride were walking through the camp area, and it was raining. They were disappointed. They thought it had all been for naught. He wrote to me, and that's because I didn't know that that night a future vice president of the United States would be giving his life to Jesus Christ. He wrote on, he said, quote, I cannot write this without tears. And I couldn't read it without tears. Because I remember that night. Sitting on a hillside, it was raining. And it was like I heard the words for the first time. That God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whoever might believe in him might not perish, but might have eternal life. And I stood up, 18 years young, and I walked down that night. Not out of a sense of intellectual assent, but because my heart was broken with gratitude for what had been done on the cross for me. It took a while to write that pastor back. Karen and I had the chance to meet him and his wife when we were in Jacksonville a few months later. I wasn't able to write that letter without tears. But I said to him at the end, now I know who else to thank for that night so many years ago. But the lesson of his letter was this. It's the reason I share it. He said to me, Mike, when I heard of the decision you'd made that night, realize that even when things don't seem like they're going the way we expected, they're going the way He expected. So let me say from my heart, I truly believe on the eve of this Georgia election and every day forward, that if we will hold fast to Him, we'll see our way through these challenging times. We'll restore our nation. We'll restore our nation's health. We'll renew our freedom, and we will continue to inspire people all across this land with our witness of the love and compassion and strength that comes in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. We don't know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. One of my favorite quotes from Winston Churchill was in an address to Congress in 1941. And he said, quote, "He must indeed have a blind soul who cannot see that some great purpose and design is being worked out here below, which we have the honor to be faithful servants." So let's be faithful servants. Let's do our part. Let's do our part to preserve all that is great and good about this last best hope of mankind. I leave here today just confident if all of us do all that we need to do, all across this state and all across this country, when Georgia steps up and holds the line and defends the majority, when Georgia steps up to vote your values and your convictions tomorrow, when you send David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler back to a Republican majority in the United States Senate, we're going to keep America great. And we're going to keep making America greater than ever before. Thank you very much, Georgia. God bless you. God bless America. Now let's go get it done.